Hey, very good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sean.
And this is Sven.
Hey, you're listening to our last Coast Games Radio episode of 2023. And to say the year went by quick is like an understatement, because Sven and I were just chatting how there was stuff that opened this year, for example, that we completely forgot even opened this year. It was just a weird year, for me anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's something else that we're forgetting. Like, where's Alex?
Oh, that's right. So Alexander is currently in Los Angeles for work. You know, the Christmas schedule. We had to line up a certain way. But the good news is Alex and I are pretty much inseparable when it comes to our theme park travels. So everything that he's experienced, I've experienced. And so therefore, this will be an episode
Almost
that will
everything. Almost
include
everything.
him.
We'll touch
but that's
upon it.
right. That is right. For once, I got something extra. Anyway, so yeah, so we'll kind of, I'll be speaking on behalf of both Alex and I, and our experiences and our plans and what else we're going to be discussing today. And then, of course, Sven is with us today as well.
Yes, to the European side, although that's also a bit your thing, but
Mostly yours, though. You're full-time European at this point.
yeah, full-time here. But no, it will be fun to look back a little bit on everything we did in 2023, and then, of course, look forward to the new year. We already did that a bit about the roller coasters, but we'll touch upon it here as well, and of course, super excited for 24.
Yeah, 24 is going to be a good year, I think. Got a good feeling about it. Got mad plans. But to be honest, your 2023 was so spectacular. It's like, I was telling Alex earlier, I was like, this is our list for like what we did this year, which I'm like, I feel like we did more than that. But then Sven's year was busy. I mean, practically he was gone for like a tenth of a year traveling. So it was nice for you anyway.
But yeah, I mean, for me, it was very much focused on everything connected to our wedding. So it will also reflect in when I was looking at my personal trips and highlights. Most of it was even the theme park stuff was related to that. But we'll talk about that. But first let's have a look to the new editions of 23. The new attractions that we experienced this year and that everyone got to experience for the first time this year.
Yeah, so we'll start with Tron Light Cycle Run, which I think was the first to open on our list today. Obviously,
and I saw that, and I was like, "Oh, you're right. That was this year."
Yeah, it's one of those Disney rides where like you swore it's older than it is. I have sometimes rides where I could have sworn it was open already, but the pandemic, I'm blaming the pandemic still. Just kind of messed with that, right? Mostly the pandemic, maybe partially Disney. But yeah, Tron opened early this year, and I was lucky enough, or Alex and I were, to get invited by a friend of mine who is with Disney, and we were able to go to one of the previews. And I forgot what month that was in. I think that was actually in February that we did the preview.
That must have been a very nice highlight, as you're big Tron fans, and then
we were so
finally
excited.
Now in Orlando.
We had our Tron outfits ready. And I think one of the things we're most excited for is to see the changes, the things that were different from the Shanghai version. Because we've been so lucky to ride that one so many times. And for a really nice change, there's actually some upgraded parts to the Walt Disney World version that we do not find on the Shanghai one. So that was a really pleasant surprise. I think Tron...
Which is the most noticeable?
The most noticeable difference is that Shanghai, it focuses on making Tron like the centerpiece of a giant land. Mm-hmm. So all the light schemes in the entire land are synchronized with Tron. So Tron's canopy there has a lot of different colors, and the music underneath Tron is mostly in sync with the rest of the land, which is a very nice futuristic score. You can find it on YouTube. But it is not necessarily super franchise, like directly into the franchise. Okay. And I think it's because in China, they didn't have any idea what Tron was, besides it just looking cool. But then when you have it here, it really is a separate attraction. So the canopy lighting is a lot more focused on the color of the movie. It's either, white, light blue, or orange. And then the score is like a dramatic symphonic musical score of the Tron Legacy movie, the 2010 movie, which is the aesthetic they've been using. And then they added an extra themed element on the ride itself, and they upgraded some of the previous effects. Like the screens are much nicer on Orlando's, And then I think the final tunnel, the light effects are done differently, but I think it works better here too. So yeah, those are just some of the differences.
Okay, nice. Yeah, the
What
other
do you think
ride
of
on
Tron?
the list. Sorry. I mean, we really enjoyed it. It was definitely. I think it was my favorite roller coaster experience, like purely focused on the roller coaster in Walt Disney World.
Okay, I'd love to hear that.
But yeah, I guess the contender is the other contender is Guardians of the Galaxy. But Guardians of the Galaxy was just like a party for me.
I can see that.
While Tron, especially front seat, that was like, okay, this is the kick I want on a roller coaster. And then at night in the dark, when you pass by the lights there and then go inside, and it's just more cohesive. So purely roller coaster perspective wise, I think it's my favorite in Walt Disney World.
I really appreciate that. I feel like most people are just not giving it the credit it deserves. So thank you, Sven.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, yeah, and I guess I also compare it to Booster Bike, which is like the prototype of that attraction, and it's like, yeah, it's far way better than that. So they've learned their lessons. Yeah, I was going to switch to Europe because we had some nice coasters opening this year. It was definitely the Intamin year for Europe, and the first one that opened was Toutatis in Parc Astérix in France. I think for many people in France, one of the most anticipated coasters, and in the wider Europe
ever,
yeah, because it got delayed for a year if I remember correctly, but all of a sudden you saw construction coming up, and yeah, the entire area that got dedicated to the attraction as well fits perfectly with the Asterix
it fits
theme.
So nice. Oh my god!
The Toutatis festival.
Yeah, having it like kind of below the suspended parts of Trace du Rat. It's also natural. It's almost like it was designed like that 20 years ago when they worked on Trace. It's I'm amazed by how nicely it turned out. I really like it.
And also the station, because they really wanted they didn't want a concrete box, or well, not a concrete, but like a square box. I mean, for the station, so they put a lot of effort in turning that into a hill type of structure, let's say.
Sure.
Where they work with the rock work then, and it's a bit of a shame then that you have the maintenance area that's like still that square box. They put some bamboo or wooden structure in front of it to cover it a little bit up, but that's, I mean, I guess that's the difference with Disney, But then again, they put a lot of effort in that attraction, and the ride is really, really good. I got lucky enough to have the Toutatis for a group of people to ourselves, like at night, and then with the dusk in the sky on that top hat that was amazing. But speaking of that top hat, that's the only thing that annoys me about that coaster, and that's the trim brake there. It's like
Interesting. So I didn't quite find the top hat that annoying, and I do know that the sentiment that you have, many people share with you. For me, I thought that the top hat almost gave like two pops, because you have the first pop, you get slowed down, you have another pop coming off of it, and I kind of liked it, but it's not sustained, and I think that's what most people want from a top hat, is like sustained ejection. But it just felt different, which I kind of liked about it, and we'll talk about another ride in a second where I felt the same positive way about it. But yeah, overall, Toutatis is a really good ride. And it is still different, you're right.
Yeah, because there they did something that made it give a little bit of sense. But then again, yeah, once you're over that top hat on Toutatis, then you are thrown into these elements, and that's just wow.
Yeah, my favorite part of Toutatis is probably just the low to the ground elements. It does a good job balancing some low stuff, like the low wave turn, for example, or that like really quick direction changing corkscrew kind of element towards the end. I think those are my favorite moments. But yeah, if you want to hear me and Alex ramble on about what we like and what we don't like about all the new Intamins, there's an episode in the beginning of the season, the first one of season 5, where I have all my thoughts shared with you, but I will not put all that in this episode.
Yeah, I think we'll have a bit of a recap of our season as well, because we touched upon a lot of things that we are talking about now, but there's still some new stuff, especially in our personal trips, I think, that will be fun to talk about. But yeah, I think the conclusion is, for me, that Tutatis really lived up to the expectation, especially for France, to being the best coaster there. I know but... you don't agree with a certain mountain in Paris, but
it's okay. I understand. Coaster enthusiasts are coaster people first. I understand.
But let's stay in France, and it's not a coaster this time, but it's a dark ride, one of the few dark rides that opened this year in Europe, and I think overall.
Yeah, I don't think there's any in the US either. Yeah.
But I mean, there's been, obviously, we had Frozen that just opened in Hong Kong, and then
we had Mickey
Shanghai.
Minnie and Mickey Minnie Runaway Railway in Disneyland, and I forgot about that. It's not on the list.
And then in Shanghai we have the Zootopia ride that just opened a few days ago.
Oh my god, it looks so good! It's crazy.
Well, I'm not. It's you really see that they're starting to combine like Mickey's and Minnie's, and then they have the Ratatouille experience. And though that's for me what I see in Shanghai, like the Zootopia ride. So watching it on ride, it didn't blow me away, but it doesn't need to, because it's for Shanghai. It's still a standout ride, and it's a unique ride that they have, so it fits there perfectly. And I think that's also a bit of an issue that we keep expecting more and more, but No,
you're right. I think there's a ceiling that is kind of perhaps already reached, and so we're just seeing different applications of a similar idea and a similar product just themed differently. But I think it's kind of natural, because in the 90s, all the loopers started running the same, and then B&M came in. And I think you reach a plateau once in a while, and I think it's very natural. I think if you have something good going, might as well keep doing it,
But then the ride that I was going to talk about was Champi-Folie. Obviously, I need to mention that attraction, as I've been working on the attraction myself. But what we tried to do there is opening up like a small interactive dark ride where you still have the dark ride feel, but opening up for smaller and medium-sized parks that they can also have something like that, because normally a dark ride is a huge investment, but then Champi-Folie proved for me that even with a limited budget, you can still build something that's very nice and very appealing to your guests, and a very good price quality ratio. And it's also from that point of view that I look at it. But then again, I also try to be there as an enthusiast, and it's nice to see that you can still have theming and the 3D. Well, not 3D. It's 2D screens, but that you still have like a dark ride feel, and all that in a former 4D cinema. So it's like, okay, this is really a nice product.
I think this ride is really important for the industry, because usually dark rides, like you kind of mentioned, are allocated to larger parks, larger projects, larger budgets. But there's so many parks, especially in Europe, there's so many mid-sized or smaller theme parks that will be a perfect fit for a dark ride at perhaps like a smaller scale. And I think this is honestly kind of a revolutionary ride in the sense that it's so modern, but allows to be applied to the smaller product. And I can think of a list of like 30 parks right now where I'm like, boom, that will be a good fit. Boom, will be a good fit.
Yeah.
So I really hope that this is like, a trendsetter, really.
Yeah. So and it's always good to have more dark rides anyway.
Always.
So even though, yeah, I think there's still a lot of potential, as you said, for smaller parks to open up for this type of attraction as well. So Yeah, and the next one could be non-interactive as well. I mean, there's still lots of possibilities there. I think there's more ways to evolve still for dark rides and roller coasters, maybe, because as you said, it's a certain plateau. But yeah, it's and it doesn't always have to be like revolutionary, because that's Disney's and Universal's job, you know. But the smaller and the medium parks, they just can, their revolution is by showing rides that normally they can't build, and now they can. So that's what I.
That's true. Yeah, usually you would associate like we mentioned, like a hardcore, more expensive or high quality dark ride. You would usually associate it with Disney, but it's nice to see those kind of products in a smaller scale, perhaps, still trickle down to the regional parks for sure.
But yeah, I know our listeners like roller coasters, so what about another one in Orlando?
All right, back to it we go. Next up on our list is a Pipeline, which I almost also forgot opened this year because somehow 2023 lasted like 10 eternities. Pipeline opened earlier this year, and also a prototype ride, kind of maybe not necessarily pushing a limits, but definitely introducing a new ride in an otherwise pretty plateaued industry. I really like the effect of the seats. I think B&M created a really fun product line. I'm curious to see what can be done with the layout. I think this layout showcases just what the ride can do, like in a really nice way. Like it almost, I don't want to say it feels prototypey because it's a prototype, but the layout really does do a bunch of different things, and it's nice to have a B&M that isn't just an inversion vest. Yeah, it feels like B&M is either all inversions or all airtime, no in between. And somehow Pipeline did a really wonderful job of just having a couple of inversions, and that's kind of it. The rest is airtime. Really fun. Yeah, I like the ride.
Yeah, but that's the funny thing about it. It's like it was the last thing I expected to experience on this type of ride, because on a stand-up coaster, you're usually more like the G-forces.
Positive G's, yeah.
Yeah, and then I was riding this, and I'm like, whoa, what's happening? Like, our faces must have been so funny the first time that you go up from the surfboard and that you have that sensation, and it's like, wow, this is really cool. And yeah, totally unexpected. Especially, yeah, you couldn't notice that on any video or teasers or anything like that. You really have to feel it to know how it goes. No, it's true.
And like you said, like traditionally stand-up coasters are so positive G-focused that riding this and having a layout that I think in a way is honestly even more focused on negative G's than it is on positive G's. Really fun experience, because I was a little scared that it would be too much of like a reincarnation of the stand-up coaster, like another try.
Yeah.
But we really shouldn't be looking at it like a stand-up coaster, despite it being the position you're standing in. It's a completely different kind of product line, you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but
no. But surf and stand-up is definitely a totally different product for B&M, and it's interesting to see that they shift from the 4-seaters to the 2-seaters now, because not only on the
I know, right? Doesn't it feel weird?
Not only on the surf coaster, but now for the future family coasters as well. It looks like that's the new direction to go for B&M.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. Capacity-wise, of course, I love my good old 4 across, but they are a little tight. Like, you sit next to strangers on a 4 across invert or something, and, you're all really good friends in a short time. But the spaciousness of the seats and the room around your feet on
there's
Pipeline,
a lot of room on the
surf. Of room. Like, it just feels like a roomy coaster. I really enjoyed the new approach that they're taking. I'm curious to see what they're doing with the new ride for next year.
And I love the color scheme too, by the way.
Oh yeah, me too. Really clean. I mean, SeaWorld does a good job using any ocean-related colors, except for one, right?
But also the surfboard, and then the details that they have, like the sand that's like slightly still there on the surfboard. That was funny.
I'm trying to remember now the surfboard details. I just wrote it too. You're probably completely right. I mean, I do remember liking the aesthetic a lot. I mean, there's a couple things that I don't like, as it's just like a little cheesy, but I guess it's just theme park stuff. Like some of the announcements are a little cheesy, but no, overall I think it's a great fit for the park, and it's nice to have that circle of the park where the ride is at, kind of complete again. Because for so long before Pipeline and Icebreaker, that part of the lake, that side of the lake, was really only for seasonal events, and it was honestly kind of dead. And now the park feels like it's flourishing. Every direction you look in, you stand on that bridge. The other day I was like, oh my god, I can see 5 B&Ms because they were building, they're building Penguin Track, and it's really visible from the bridge too. I'm like, I can see 5 B&Ms right now. I mean, this is a record. Like, this is crazy. Like, SeaWorld really turning into like the B&M showcase, and I'm here for it.
Oh yeah. No, that's nice. But yeah, they need a bit of a comeback, B&M, because I've noticed that Intamin is taking over, and we've seen that in Europe, because next one on the list is good old Batman Gotham City Escape. Of course, that was like the duel of the year for Europeans. It's like Tudatis versus Batman. Totally. And it's so hard because Batman feels totally different with the shorter trains, with the layout that's like, yeah, it's a large layout. Oh, but really? It feels shorter from it. That was the only thing that is like, okay, compared to it felt a bit short. But on the other hand, when you ride it a few times, especially the first time, it felt a bit short. But then afterwards, like when we rode it again, it's like, okay, no, it's a decent length. It's just because, yeah, this is just a different approach, let's say, to this type of coaster. But we talked about the top hat, and the onboard audio is what makes this top hat a lot different for me, because the timing is just like, bam, the moment the music shifts, you're gone, So they really use that moment with the music on the top hat to highlight it almost. And because of that, it felt a lot. It annoyed me a lot less.
See, I'll be honest. The onboard audio for me, it's not something I kind of forget about it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's nice to have it because it's so unique. But really, I don't think about it when I think about the ride. I just think about the uniqueness of the elements. Particularly, probably my favorite element is that weird little dip below the bridge, the fake bridge, after the dive loop. But then the dive loop, like the sideways dive loop, is unique. And doing the full corkscrew, I haven't seen that on an Intamin launcher before. I just feel like the uniqueness aspect of that ride that's what still really sets it apart for me. It just doesn't feel like any of the other Intamins. Yeah,
that's true. It's a unique little gem, and that stall is obviously also like one of those elements that you're like. Plus, it's on top of the themed element that's already been there for years, but it feels like it was built for it.
Oh, exactly. Well, yeah, and then, of course, having the full production of the queue, the pre-show, everything. I mean, it puts some of its counterparts in the US even to shame, in my opinion. But yeah, I wanted to say we were there in October, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But we rode it it was like 4 a.m, and they were doing some sort of fireworks show right below the top hat, some fire show. And I still remember, I was like, oh my god, this is like, I mean, it was like raining too. It was like a weird like sensation. It was like a very overloading, sensational sensory experience. But still remember hanging there, like looking at all the fire below me, and it was raining and it was cold, and I was like, what the hell? This is crazy. I have good fond memories of this ride. I really adore it. Yeah.
And the only thing also is the ending is a bit, I won't spoil it for people that haven't
a bit abrupt.
Yeah, that was a bit also, it felt gimmicky, but...
Well, I think I agree with you, and I don't think I ever voiced this in the prior episodes, but I can kind of agree with that, because you have a lot of momentum, you have a lot of speed, because the top hat or the inverted stall is probably the second tallest element on the ride, and it's such a sensational moment, and you dive off of that in this crazy, it almost feels like a vertical twist, but then that's, it's not spoilers, I guess, but it's kind of the end of it, even though you expect a little bit more.
And that's maybe one of the reasons why the first time it felt so short, because of that, you had all that momentum, and it's gone in one... I get it. So.
And it's funny because you wrote that before you wrote Velocicoaster, which is obviously longer. Which for me, maybe because I was already expecting it to not be as long as Velocicoaster, because what could possibly be as long as Velocicoaster? That for me, that wasn't necessarily as much of an issue, but I can totally see where you're coming from now that I think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys want to hear a lot more about all the ins and outs and every single second of your ride experience on Batman Gotham City Escape, there are 2 episodes on that. We have the launch episode where we compared the two Tatis, Pantheon, and Velocicoaster, and then we also have our Park Warner Madrid episode. So check that out if you're interested.
Yes. But we remain in Spain because not only did Parque Warner open an Intamin coaster, also PortAventura opened one, the Uncharted roller coaster. I'd say it's not necessarily a new type, but it's like a comeback from the type, you know. It's.
I guess you can say that. I feel like it's well, because is it technically a comeback of the product line?
I mean, because I think the few rides it compares to is the Mummy, but obviously that's fair. Not from Intamin. And then I guess it has Gringotts vibes as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Which that is the Intamin product.
Yeah, so I guess it's the a different version of Gringotts. Both of us didn't ride it this year.
Yeah,
but
I
our
will
team
be honest,
went
my interest
there.
was very low. Yeah, but our team did some research for us, and I mean,
yeah, our team went there, and there's a whole article about it on our website.
Mixed reviews, I will be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the reason it wasn't a priority for me, and maybe for you too, Sven. I just didn't have expectations for it.
For me, it was mostly because in 2022, I went for 4 days to PortAventura, so I was like, okay, I'm satisfied for a while now.
It's fun. That's true. Yeah, we did the same thing. Yeah, we had just been there.
I'll be there. I'll be back there for sure, and especially with all the rumors flying around about Universal potentially purchasing the park as it's for sale.
If Universal really, if that really happens, Sven, between like the stellar lineup at Parque Warner Madrid and freaking Universal PortAventura, you can see me move to Spain in like the next 5 years. Like, hola,
señor.
Hola.
But so yeah, it's hard to talk about it if I haven't ridden it, but so I won't talk about how I feel about the ride, but it's indeed like it didn't draw me in to go especially for that to PortAventura, that's for sure.
Yeah, what I'm gonna say is I think it's kind of obvious that this year in Spain the war was won by the Madrid park and not the Mediterranean.
Well, we'll have
Barcelona
to see
park.
it to the guests, the visitor numbers and. But I think from an enthusiast point of view,
I just think from a general quality / enthusiast response, I think we all know. But anyway, let's dive into our personal experiences of this past year, beyond what we just discussed, which were also personal experiences. We'll just kind of go through the seasons and talk about the trips that we took. Mine were honestly quite a few repeats of past and. Parks I go to frequently, but there's a couple of new parks in there, or new rides at least. So in the spring, I did Efteling like 3 or 4 times. Being in Europe so much for work now, I'm mostly in the Netherlands, so doing Efteling on a quick work layover is honestly a really nice way to spend a sunny day. So I did that a couple times. And was there anything new I did at Efteling? No, there wasn't. But it was always cute, you know? It's always a good time.
Yeah, they're building Danse Macabre, of course, that will open next year. I didn't make it to Efteling this year, unfortunately.
That's so crazy.
I mean, I tried, but especially in the once September hits, it's getting really busy in the park. So, especially in the weekends, then there's a lot of events going on, company events. In December, I had a few days that I could have gone, but then there were companies that had rented out the park, so it wasn't the best time to go. And yeah, I guess I'm waiting for next year for the new ride to open.
That's fair. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. But otherwise, yeah, normally I go there every year to Efteling.
But did you do any Dutch parks, though, this year?
Yes. So actually one of my first parks that I did was Slagharen. But it was a surprise for me because it was my bachelor party that happened there. And it was such a sweet surprise because I were about 9 or 10 people. And so Slagharen has a big vacation holiday park where you can rent like a little house. So we rented 2 houses because they only have them for 6. But next year they're getting those for 8 people as well. Little side note. And it was actually a very fun place to do it because I'm not like the most craziest getting drunk type of guy and just fooling around. No, we had a really fun 2 days. Well, we arrived on the Friday night, and then one of my I did have a few assignments that I needed to do because I mean that's part of it. And one of them was to high five 30 different people, and I need to have a little video of it and put them all together into like a reel or TikTok video. But it's weird because one hand you need to have someone that's filming it and that's ready to film it, and then on the other hand, it's just a random guy giving you a high five, you know. So some people, I had a lot of people that didn't want to give one, so I was like, why?
Poor Sven.
But so one of the first things I did was because they didn't give me anything to wear, luckily, besides like a ribbon, just like to showcase it, but just the ribbon wasn't clear enough, I felt. So I went into one of the stores and I bought a cowboy hat because that's the Slagharen thing to do, you know?
Oh, totally.
And so at least that way I stood out a little bit more compared to other guests. Because it's not the typical park to do a bachelor party, I feel.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of anyone doing that.
Yeah.
Except for you, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, but it was the perfect type of bachelor party that I wanted. I mean, it didn't necessarily need to be more than one day, but I have a friend group that's the type of trips that we do. We do like a weekend away and we hit some parks or one park together and just have fun. And it was and used to be able, now they don't allow it anymore, but you can just walk around the park like after midnight.
Didn't they stop it like a few months ago? I remember reading some articles on it in Dutch news, yeah.
Yes, I assure everyone that we have nothing to do with that. Because we were okay. Yeah, we didn't do any bad stuff. We just walked around and took some pictures. But yeah, it was a very fun park to do that. And the other trick to get the video done was to have the staff do it, and they really went along with it as well. So that was
I love Slagharen. I'm so overdue for a visit. I need to go this year, or next year, 2024. I need to go. Because I did ride Gold Rush in 2018. I'm really, really surprised by how much I liked that ride. But then, we combined it a little bit with another park that day. And so, we did log flume, coasters, the big swing, and then we just kind of bounced again. But as a kid, I spent so much time there. I kind of just want to do a whole day and ride every single thing. Just to, nerd out a little bit.
And we did the water park as well, but that one didn't impress me that much, unfortunately. But
I think it was nicer when it
way
opened.
Too busy. And
to be honest with you, it's just the reuse of the old water park pool. Like, it really isn't... I think people maybe have to... Yeah, I think they marketed it as something really big, but I think it's just the reuse of the original pool that they had. But anyway.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's good that they have it. I think it's necessary to have that, like, as a vacation park, but it's not, if you're just there for one day, it's fine to skip it,
Fair.
Yeah, and then otherwise, I guess we're already in spring now. Obviously, there was the opening of the Champifoli attraction, and going to Lapal many times when it was closed, but finally when it was open as well, because I was dying to do Yukon Quad finally. Because I had done Juwelen in Sommerland, but this one, I think it's important for an attraction, especially a roller coaster, is that people that don't ride the roller coaster can also enjoy it. And that's something they did a very good job here, because you basically can walk around the whole coaster, and on one hand you have the roller coaster, and on the other hand you have the wolves. So it's like there's always something
cool.
to see.
So it's kind of like a walkthrough.
The way you can see it, in Sommerland, you can't. It's totally blocked off. So you just have the launch that you can see a little bit, but all the rest of it is hidden away. And here you can just take it all in, and it's in the heart of the park. So I was very pleasantly surprised about that one. Yeah,
that's nice. Yeah, I got from my spring. My spring was, I guess, sort of eventful. I did Tatis in the spring, yes. Which it was nice to go back to Park Asterix, and but operations were honestly not great when we went, to the degree that we bought fil automatiques for every single ride, which added up pretty quick. But I think it was worth it because it was like really busy. I think school groups, lots of school, lots of kids. And there were, one-train operations on some rides, and I think their ride collection, their coaster collection there is actually really, really strong. Yeah. One of the strongest in Europe, for sure. And, every ride kind of slaps, so we really felt like, we have to do every ride again, even though we went like 2 years ago. But yeah, no, we had a good time, especially to the T's. We rode front and back, so yeah.
Best tip for Park Asterix is beforehand buy that fast pass, because some of them are really doable price-wise, even if you have to wait like the normal queue time. I think that one exists as well, but that you can do. We went on one of the busiest days Park Asterix had ever had, and we did so much because we had that pass. So, and it was the cheapest one. So,
that's funny. I have never done that park without fil automatiques. I don't think. I think my first time we went there,
there's been days where it was a lot quieter that we were fine, but now.
Yeah, and then this time again, because we wanted to buy. Because here's the thing: for fil automatiques, when we went, it was just after they opened Tout Tatis, and it was one of those things where you couldn't. There was not a single pass that included it, and so we figured, you know what, we'll just buy Tout Tatis. Because the focus was Tout Tatis. So we're like, we'll just go there. Instead of buying it for all the rides, we'll just buy it for Tout Tatis twice, or once or twice. And then we'll see what we feel like riding, or if the lines are long, whatever. We were just going to play by ear. We ended up spending, buying more of them just to kind of get through the park a little quicker. But it was worth it. Because the last thing I want to do is to wait 2 hours for Goederix running one train. And then it's worth it to me. Like, I don't mind spending money when I'm overseas just to get an experience that's decent. At that point I'm already there.
Yeah, it was also the first time I rode Tonnerre de Zeus backwards and also front eventually, and I prefer front.
I remember
you have to do it once backwards because it's such a unique experience, but then the ride experience itself I enjoyed a lot more in the front.
That's funny. I did enjoy it backwards a lot. I thought it was really cool. But yeah.
Because for me, backwards, it felt a lot more jolty because you don't know where you're going. So your body is not prepared to go left or right depending on what you see. And on a wooden coaster, that can be a little bit more painful compared.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And on the front, I had a lot more airtime as well. So it was like...
What did you do anything else in the spring?
Yes, continuing the wedding storyline, let's say. So on the day of our wedding at the City Hall, so like the official one, we had our photo shoot, and our wedding photo shoot was done in Bellewaerde Park, my home park. So they were kind enough to let us in for 2 hours with someone from the park that took us around the entire park, and we could take pictures in almost everywhere we wanted. So we had our picture taken in the House of Houdini, so the Madhouse. So that was really cool. And then in the teacups, that's one of the ones that turned out the best because the colors really are bright on that one. But the idea came from Wakala, because that first drop is such a beauty to capture. And so us in that all by ourselves was just, that was...
I think that's a favorite picture of you guys, Sven. That was such a good picture. Oh my god. Like
one of the final ones,
nerd level, like good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of the final ones we took was with the flying carousel, so like the chain seats. And that's also one of my favorites because it had a very vintage look, and so grateful for Bellawada Park for letting us do that. It made it extra special, and then we had a 2-day wedding, and it was amazing. It's so much heartfelt memories, and then it was a shame you guys didn't make it.
I know this was a rough year for making plans or going anywhere. That's just showcased by my lackluster list of adventures I went on, but...
I mean, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But then, we had an amazing time. And then after that, so beginning of June, there was a new experience for me as well, and that was the roller coaster run in Walibi Holland. So I've never done anything like it, and it had been a while since I ran something, so I was a bit scared because I have some issues with my left knee. But it was such a cool experience because not only do you run for 5 kilometers, but while you run, you go on the roller coasters.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't realize that. Okay.
So you start with Goliath, and then also the sensation when you've been running for like 2 or 3 kilometers, and then you go on Untamed. That was such a weird thing because it's like your body is just a lot different compared to when you just walk around in the park, and so
just makes you want to go for a run in a park and then ride a ride that's pretty intense and see how I feel about it.
It was super strange. And then the final one, that was Express to end things with. So and it was of course for the good cause. So we were all together. I think we raised a good amount of money against cancer. So I'd do it again, and I know a lot of parks are doing it. So that type of but I think Walibi Holland is one of the few where you ride the attraction while you're running. So that was super cool.
Very nice. Yeah, from my spring, I did do a couple things. I went to Ryan's wedding in April that luckily did work out, and he actually started California Coast Kings with me. I know it's been around for a very long time.
Oh, wow.
We used to do that way back in like 2013, 14, 15, whatever. But since that's in LA where we lived, we went to Magic Mountain, as usual, and then we were able to fit in Disneyland resort as well, which is nice because it's always a good time at Disneyland. I feel like every time we go, it's like, Disneyland Resort is just Disneyland Resort. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. I will say though that I've been 3 or 4 times in the last year and a half. Operationally, they're not as strong as pre-pandemic. I feel like I don't know what it is.
Post-pandemic,
compared to pre-pandemic. So like post-pandemic, they're not as good as previously. But I will say I really like their application of Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway. It fits really nicely inside Toontown, and having Roger Rabbit, the roller coaster, the meet and greets, and then having Mickey and Minnie in there, which looks really unassuming because it's a giant show building that they hit so well, like right where the show building for Small World is. I feel like it's a little more obvious in Walt Disney World that there's obviously big ride kind of hiding in plain sight. But in Anaheim, it's just like you're in this cute little Toontown. It's really not that big, and you just wander into the little theater. And really, there's a massive, massive ride. It's a larger version of the one here. So really enjoyed that. Surprisingly, it stuck with me. But yeah, Disneyland's always a good time. We did that this spring, yeah.
I was about to say I remember looking up back Disneyland and to seeing what's been changed since I've been there 5 years ago, and the lineup is crazy for that park.
It's crazy. It's all the castle park. That is the wildest thing.
And then now Mickey's and Minnie's, and it's like how that park and dark rides is just insane.
Oh my god, there's so many dark rides, but I think it also kind of leads to problems because the amount of power outages that are going on in that park, it's like half the park is down all the time. And we did a VIP tour last summer with the agency, and oh my god, every ride we went to was down for power issues, and then we kept getting like fast pass. But the whole tour was, you know, like I don't know, like 6 hours. We rode like nothing on that VIP tour. We just couldn't get on any rides. It was always down. And eventually they just gave us a shit ton of extra like from the line passes for stuff because of course these tours are thousands of dollars. Like they're expensive tours. And we didn't get to do anything. Well, a couple things, but not as many as we wanted. But then that issue seemed to be like that last October, and then we went again in April. You know, we go every few months, and I just think that Disneyland has built so much on this perhaps even dated power grid. I'm not expert on that, but it just seems to be the theme. Okay. But it doesn't matter though. I feel like I still love being there. It's like an atmosphere, you know. Mm-hmm. Like Disneyland just hits different. I don't know if I'm just like
I'm excited to go back there.
And then of course we also went to Disneyland Paris in the spring like 3 times, but you know, photo shoots and cute rides in hyperspace. We do not need to repeat ourselves a million times. There's an episode 2 or 3 episodes ago about that. Listen to it.
Yeah, I also went to Disneyland Paris because I wanted to go a last time before going to Orlando.
So smart.
And there were a couple of reasons, actually. That was one of them. Also, it was the first time that we went to eat in Waltz. That's been on my list for ages.
Oh my god, I love Waltz, Sven.
I was like, it's finally time to go there. Yeah. It's I wasn't too happy with the seating that we got because we were in the Adventureland area.
Oh, so you couldn't really see like Shine Brighter come by, could you?
No, and I think it wasn't running at the time that we were eating there because I didn't take the conventional hours for reasons to enjoy the rest of the park, you know. I was in the evening already, yeah, because so that we could do a lot during the day and then just go eat and watch the show. Because that's the another reason was the return of Disney Dreams, which I was very excited about because I have a very emotional connection with that show, and unfortunately it wasn't the same anymore as what it used to be because it didn't have the fire effects, but I think those are back now. Did you see them?
So, don't hate me, but on my visit since Dreams came back, which I guess was only like, I've only spent like 4 or 5 nights there since Dreams came back. I guess we haven't done it. We did 4 days. You know, I think I told you it was so cold. It was so cold, Sven, and we didn't do it.
Cold for Orlando people.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was -2 feeling when we went, and we were packed in layers, but it was just cold. Again, long detailed version of this on previous episodes, but no. Long story short, I did not see Dreams. And I missed Eliminations, though, because I actually liked it. But that's also a different story.
No, but that's the thing. It's now that you saw Dreams again, and then you realize, okay, Elimination is all about the spectacle. Yeah. And that lacked a bit now in Disney Dreams because of the not having the fire and etc. So I think they now will have the symphony pre-show with dedicated to Main Street Electrical Parade that will be running right after the day that I'm going back. But of course, yeah, there's also the drone preview still of the 30th anniversary, the ending of the 30th anniversary, which was probably one of the best celebrations Disneyland Paris has ever had.
I think that Disney has ever had, to be honest with you. Because we've done some of the
Tokyo
I'm not sure about
ones. Japan, though, because Japan...
we did the Tokyo 35th anniversary, and I hate to say it, Sven, but the 30th at Disneyland Paris was so well done. From drone shows to, like, obviously Shine Brighter. It was just, like... They did it so well that it put the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney World to shame. And we did Alex did 2 celebrations, I think, in Tokyo. I've only done 1. And still, I would say Paris was just above that. So, for once. It was good.
Yeah, they pulled out everything and it worked. And just the logo by itself was already like genius.
The color scheme, the music for it. I mean, they hit everything. They hit it all just right, and I think that was a good marketing boost for them because. I mean, people in the U.S. were talking about, Disney Paris. Oh, I heard their anniversary is so great. Everyone here was talking about it, and it's really, really rare for the Walt Disney World groups or the Walt Disney World patrons to be discussing Disneyland Paris beyond just a mere showing off of having been. They were just like discussing how jealous they were of how good it was, the celebration. So they really did something right.
Yeah, I feel the rumors going around about Disneyland Paris are getting really strong that a lot of that money that was promised to invest in the parks is going to Paris.
I know. So there's some crazy numbers I've heard.
Exciting.
I know. Oh, could you imagine?
Yeah.
All the things then.
But yeah, first Frozen, and then at the moment they say that it won't be Star Wars, but it will be Lion King.
Lion King will be a really cute fit for them. So, we all know how much the Europeans love Lion King. So
well, especially in France, the Lion King is one of the highest franchises from Disney. So, but yeah,
it'd be nice to have something French specific. Anyway, next.
Yeah, it's getting summertime, I think, and we both have Parque Warner on our list.
Yeah.
When I went there, it was actually like a European Coaster Kings team meetup that we did there.
Like 2 days after Alex and I went. So terrible how that worked out.
Yeah,
the nice thing is we all got to see Andre. We all got to hang out with him. So sad.
Yes. So Andrea and Alex from Spain were very kind to host us. But yeah, that was an amazing trip together. We also hit Parque de Atracciones de Madrid on the Sunday, which was fun to be back in that park. Tarantula is still very much fun. Abismo is very much fun. But of course, Parque Warner was the park. We also did the water park. Emma, Rosie, and me, and Andreo. Because I hadn't done it since all the slides had been added, and it was very necessary because it was very warm there.
I know, in capacity, the park was not great.
No, it was a lot of people on that Saturday, but I mean, it was good to be a bit in the water. And tip, don't forget your water shoes because your feet are just burning the moment you touch that.
It's so funny because I'm so used to like Orlando water parks where they have like the sprayers on the concrete, which I understand is a really Orlando thing, but it's so nice. You can just kind of hop from like wet pavement to wet pavement.
This is the desert.
Oh, I know. It's like going to Six Flags Harbor.
All the water you use is gone in an instant. So yeah.
I know. Yep. So we did the park too. Obviously, had a good time, but. One of the highlights for me for this summer was actually we did a quick little road trip. We did 2 little road trips in the northeast area. So I'm based in New York for work. So we kind of did some stuff around there. At one point for my birthday, we rented a car and we went to Six Great Adventure just to kind of ride some rides. I'd never done Zumanjaro because it was closed on previous visits, so we did that. Oh. And then Kinaka was it down for that visit? Or was it just... Oh, yeah, no, it had reopened. We rode Kinaka. It was super good, as usual. It was El Toro that was closed. But then they were cycling it, so it was right before it reopened. And then we drove down to King's Dominion and got a new credit to Mbili. I love King's Dominion. I think it's a great park. And then we did Busch Gardens, where we did Dark Coaster, which one of the highlights of the year for me, I think, was Dark Coaster blowing me away. Because I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting Dark Coaster to be what it was. And when they announced it, I was like, oh, that's a small show building. You're going to tell me you're going to put a roller coaster in there that goes around twice, unlike the awkward Intamin, whatever straddle coaster they call it now. I was like, it didn't appeal. It wasn't too appealing. But then riding it, the newer versions of the vehicles are so comfortable. It didn't feel like I was going around the same ride twice because they so cleverly themed. Like all the theming elements were depending on which circuit you were on, first or second. So the story just kept progressing, and it was so dark in there, the layout didn't feel repetitive. I mean, I feel like Mummy feels more repetitive. So, all things considered, I really enjoyed that ride. Yeah,
but I heard capacity is a huge issue here.
Yeah, it's like a 10-passenger train. I mean, we ran. The thing is clear across the park, and you know, Sven, Busch Gardens Bloomsburg is a massive park.
Mm-hmm.
So it is like clear across the park. And so, I mean, we were there early. And we ran with everyone else to get there. And so we didn't wait more than one train, I think. I think we waited one train. Okay. So for us, it wasn't too bad. But yeah, I can imagine waiting a long time for that. Your opinion may change.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shame.
And then we also did a trip a little bit later in the summer to Moray's Piers, which we haven't got an episode on yet, but there will be one in the next month or two, which I really enjoyed. Kind of unique, the three piers that are somewhat next to each other, but still quite separated, that are all part of the same amusement conglomerate. Best SLC in the world is probably on there. And then we also finally got on Sandy's Bucking Bronco that trip. The infamous backwards, forwards, Intamin product model coaster, whatever, and the American Dream Mall, Nickelodeon Universe in New Jersey. Actually really good, but like every other freaking ride at that park, ran like shit. It was just bouncy, it was just rough, it just wasn't that enjoyable, but I think if the model is constructed properly, it's a really cool model. Same for Gill Force we rode, that SNS product. And was it Ocean City, I think? But either way, very, very, very good ride. Very good roller coaster. I want to see more of those models. But yeah, there's a bunch of one-offs now I think about it out there. But yeah, It was a good ride. Yeah.
And then you came to Belgium.
I know. I was going to save that for last, but I will talk about it now. So while we Belgium, so on a work layover, Sven and Sander met up with me, and we went to Walibi Belgium, which is my first time, because Alex and I were supposed to do it in 2021 when we went to Sven after the pandemic, and then the place flooded, tragically.
Yes,
which then canceled our plans. But we finally got to go, and such a good time. I love that park.
You got to go, because Alex didn't.
I know. This is my bonus park.
Yeah.
This is my bonus park.
Just for you.
Even willing to go back to Brussels for work just to go there. But have I missed the question? No, but I really enjoyed Walibi Belgium. Great lineup. I think an overall better rounded park than Walibi Holland, which I have a lot more experience with. I don't know if I prefer the coastal lineup quite to Walibi Holland's extent, but either way, just really enjoyable park. I had a great time with you guys. I really had a good time.
Yeah, it was finally time for your Vekoma Woody besides the former Robin Hood.
Loop Garou was good. I remember really liking it. Did I like it when we wrote it? I think I liked it when we wrote it.
Yeah.
I liked it.
But I gave you the good seats, so.
I know. Was I writing, was it the last car middle row, right? Is that a row?
Yeah, the middle, always the middle ones.
Always middle row. Same for like the Beast and stuff. Like any six passenger wooden coaster trains, always the middle row of any car, in my opinion.
What about Conda?
Conda, very good. I think what surprised me were the elements that I didn't expect to surprise me, but I do want to say that, I think most people think of the flashiest element of the ride being the non-inverted cobra roll, and while it wasn't perhaps as intense as the look would suggest, it was a really enjoyable element. I just enjoyed the views of it. They just felt different, and I think sometimes that's all I crave on a roller coaster, is for it to feel different. Because I'm sure you have the same things when you ride so many rides, and they'll kind of run together at some point. But if they do stuff that's different, and I think that's Conda's strength. It's a hypercoaster, but it's so different than any other Intamin hypercoaster or any hypercoaster period. I think that was so fun about it. Just different things, different elements.
The thing about Conda, what I like is the more you ride it, the more you fall in love with it.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
I think I rode it like 2-3 times at least.
Yeah, but the best rides are obviously towards the end of the day still.
Yeah, of course, because we rode it right before we left. I think it was the last thing we did, was it not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it was definitely running well. But it was running well, period, though, because that first drop and that first airtime hill, I mean, good stuff, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then we went for Belgian fries, very important.
For Belgian fries. Sven's highlight.
Glad we found that place. And then it was my time to come to you guys, Cause
I know. A month later, we met each other again in Brussels.
Yeah.
But this time for something a lot more spectacular.
Yes. And then finally, the first time to Orlando. There's a lot of things that I can say about that, but that's why we have separate episodes for this. The first one already launched.
5. Yeah, exactly.
And it was huge already, so lots of things to say. But, I mean, in the beginning of the trip, we met up with Alex, and he gave us like a little tour of the parks and the Orlando scene, let's say, construction site of Epic Universe, where already then a lot of things were up. Yeah. What I really like about going finally to Orlando is like you hear all these things and now you can finally imagine in your head and talk about them and have a clearer vision of how it works. But yeah, the scope of Walt Disney World remains insane, and the Harry Potter areas and Universal, that's also something that was also a huge highlight for me for sure. And Iron Gwazi, my new number one roller coaster. So,
Sven, please hold. I was not informed of this being a number one roller coaster. Are you kidding? Really?
Here we are.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay.
We stayed there because it was Halloween event, and we had tickets for the Halloween event, and then doing that one back seats in the dark is just like, wow.
That ride's bonkers. Yeah, we just rode it again a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. It was empty at the park. It was nice. We just got to ride everything. Yeah, I enjoy how different Iron Gwazi is. It's it hits different than the other RMCs. I understand your love for it. I'm a little surprised that Velocicoaster wasn't your number one, but respect for those that love RMC more than I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about more in our future episodes about the trip, but first time Orlando. And because I feel like a lot of people have that same wish or expectation and want to know and want to see what they need to prepare for, and especially for Europeans. So that's a fun series that we're working on.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone make sure you check out the first episode, and then the next ones will come up in the next few months as we progress through the rest of probably the longest season yet, season 5.
Yeah.
What else did you do?
Then I came back from the honeymoon, and so that was the final part, let's say, of the wedding storyline. But then it was work, so we went to Vienna for the IAPA Orlando, and that's right next to the Wiener Prater. So it's good. It was my third time there. Quite a few new credits that got added, like the rollerball coaster, which we talked about that previous episode as well. It was a lot more fun than I expected. So, I mean, it's still a family coaster, obviously, but it didn't feel bumpy or underwhelming, let's say. And then we also, the Gesenkte Sau coaster, that was definitely also a highlight. Like the new, another Gerstlauer bobsled coaster.
Yeah, like the mega one, right? Like a really tall one.
Yeah, it's quite big and long and good value for money. So that's a fun little thing.
That's very
But then the Masquerade coaster, that was... yeah, because I really like... Vicky the Ride in Plopsaco, because it's a Gerstlauer spinning coaster, and but here the theming is to be fair, we rode it during the day. You definitely need to ride it at night, but it's very cheesy. The theming is spot on German type of theming. Like, even if it's in Austria, I know, but yeah, that's it's quite something.
I still need to go. Hopefully, maybe I'll go next year. I don't even know if I'll add it to my next year list, but I have yet to go to Wiener Prater someday.
Yeah, and I'm not related to that ride, but another not not to miss attraction there is a dark ride, and it's a iceberg, I think it's called. And basically you'll have like it's just an interactive one, but instead of having like a type of shooting device, you have a camera.
Oh, fun.
And so you need to take pictures of the scenes, and it's with it's in 2 levels, the dark ride. But the scenes themselves, I mean, you have to experience it. It's just so bad that it's so good. So, yeah, especially
we love a good bad ride, though.
Oh my god, it's yeah, that's one of the most unique rides I've ever done for sure. So,
and I think right after you went to Wiener Prater, we went back to Madrid, Alex and I.
Oh, yeah.
And we went to the Halloween Scary Nights at Parque One in Madrid. Honestly, it was awesome. First of all, I cannot think of any other Halloween event that runs till like 5 a.m., which was sick.
Yeah, so, that's crazy.
We had some, that just doesn't happen. Like, even Halloween Horror Nights is, like, it's not that late. So,
well, it's until 1, so that's already decent.
But for the US, I don't think so, because Six Flags Sparks will do the same thing. I feel like it's not that late. But 5 a.m. is just crazy. So the event ran from midnight to 5 a.m., but then at 10 p.m. you could get in. So Alex and I landed in the morning, I think around like 9 or 10 in the morning, and we did some groceries, got some food, and then like we slept all day until I think like 5 or 6 p.m. And then we did dinner with Andre, and then we all went and took a cab to the desert to go to this park in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night. For a second we were scared we couldn't get a taxi back to go to our plane. Because we're like, are there going to be taxis here at like 5 in the morning in the middle of nowhere? But luckily that wasn't an issue. But, we had such a great time because all the rides have been running since like 10 a.m. So like once midnight rolled around, I mean, these rides were flying. And then it started raining. Sven, these rides were on fire. They were so fast.
Wow.
And of course we rode Stuntfall a bunch. And they had a really cool entertainment. They had like a Halloween parade, all these meet and greets, which they're usually pretty good at meet and greets there anyway. And then we didn't even really do mazes because the lines for mazes were insane, but we did all the rides, and it was just awesome event. There's nothing quite like I discussed earlier in the episode, like my one like come to Jesus moment on Batman, where it was like 4 in the morning, it's raining, it gets pouring, which is also kind of rare for Madrid, and the ride was running so fast, and it was all just a blur, and then there was fire everywhere, and then there was fireworks, and it was just like I was overloaded by sensations and sensory whatever, and but it was just so memorable. And I think one of my favorite things ever done was really just a work layover gone wild, where like then we had to work the flight back to the US, and everyone's like, "You're crazy for this one," but it was so worth it. Yeah, worth it.
But yeah, speaking of Stuntfall, I always admire that attraction and riding it. I mean, I'm working on a series called The Titans of Europe, and this is the one that inspired that. It's definitely a roller coaster titan.
Oh my god! Every time, I mean, like, we know we love to hate on Old Vekoma, but back in those days, they pumped out one product that I don't know anyone that doesn't like the giant inverted boomerang. I mean, it's just a legend. It's a legend. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Every time I see it run, I'm like, every time I pull to the park, which at this point I've been like, God, 5 times, 6 times, we just pull up and it's like you see the freaking towers and you're like, there she goes. This can't be real. And then you ride it and you're like, this can't be real. That's so good. Anyway, Vekoma fanboy.
Yeah, but even I'm not a Vekoma fanboy, and I have to admit it's really
quite
it's really that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it really is that. It's censor this if you must, but it's really that bitch. Like, yeah. Anyway, you had more recent experiences. I think that was kind of. I've been to Disneyland. That's about like Disneyland Paris. That's about it. Other than that, it was just a bunch of Orlando, being at home stuff. So that kind of ends my international travels. But you did more, right?
Well, I just finished up the season with in Germany. Basically, we did Phantasialand. Just a casual trip on a Monday where we were off and nobody else was, so there was no one there. But that meant that we could hit the park and just in a relaxing way, enjoy some food, and everything I expect from a Phantasialand visit was there. So they're working on a new playground, which will open next year.
I'm surprised there's room for that. Oh, but it's a Busan one, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly where it is.
And then the adventure trail around Black Mamba, that's also like an eye-opener in a way. Like, okay, they fit something in here again, and it's just crazy. That park, they will find room everywhere.
They find a way, yeah. It's like, you know that line from Jurassic Park where like life finds a way? Phantasialand finds a way.
Yeah. But it was necessary also for the Africa area to have something more family-oriented, and at least with this, they definitely hit that mark.
You're going to think it's weird, Sven, but one of the things I'm looking forward to the most when we go back to Phantasialand next year is honestly the walkthrough, Fullback Mamba, because there aren't really like any major new rides for us, of course.
No,
but that walkthrough, I mean, it looks sick. And even from like a roller coaster like enthusiast perspective, I mean, who gets to crawl around a B&M invert like that? You know, it's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And my final park of the season was Rulantica and Europa Park. So Rulantica, we stayed there the whole Saturday, and the new tower with the new water slides is a very good addition. Because one of my main issues was the flow of getting around the park. Because I felt like if you were on the second floor, it was hard to get down, which is funny, especially because I knew some more quiet areas to sit, but it took a while to get there, so that probably explained why it was quieter. But now, with the extra tower, you have the extra stairs that can really help you around. And it's just a very relaxing day. Even when there's a bit of crowd, you can just lie down and enjoy the atmosphere, and then go for a swim, go get a cocktail in the water. It's a very enjoyable park that celebrated its 4th birthday. I think it was the 4th birthday, yeah.
Time flies, honestly.
Because they did have some balloons in there, and it wasn't a big celebration, but they have a DJ in the evening as well, which was fun, like a big party in the cold, in the water, outside. But
please remind me, Sven, which hotel did you guys stay at again?
Kronazar. So that's the one connected.
Okay, that's a nice one, yeah.
It's the one connected to Rolantica, and then they also added a pool only for the park, which is a kind of an infinity pool. So I went there in the morning just to check it out and have a little swim to wake up. Nothing too special, a bit small, but you know, you have the big water park right next to it. So, but it's good that they have it. And then Europa Park itself, it was still Hallowinter, the famous season where they switch from Halloween to the winter season. And it's typical Europa Park, you know. Nice to see the construction going on of Voltron, so excited for that. And another highlight is definitely Wodan. That ride in the winter, in the dark, is just such a gem. Really good.
Different level.
Oh yeah.
I mean, speaking of things we're excited for, we have a quick little list here that we made for the, you know, kind of looking forward now into 2024 for the remainder of the episode. The rides that we're looking forward to the most, both of us have Voltron on there. I think it's obvious if anyone to listen to last week's episode that is specifically talking about the 2024 editions for European parks. Voltron, I think both of us mentioned being excited for it.
Yes.
That's not changing. It looks like a really big power move by Europa Park. Just a big, lengthy, inverting, conceptually cute-looking roller coaster. I'm excited for it. Elsewhere on the list, I'm also looking at our list. It's pretty much the same. We have Hyperion there, which is the Thor Park Mack Hypercoaster for all the right reasons.
Long
I think
overdue.
It looks very overdue, and I think the layout is it's so different, you know? I think maybe next year is just a year of different because there's just some cool stuff.
Definitely Mack is getting out there. Now that they have the since Ride to Happiness, and now with Voltron, they're really showing that we're back and we're here to stay and to give you attractions and roller coasters that are top notch. So,
and don't forget, I mean, right over here, I drove by just a few hours ago. Epic Universe. You've got a mega launched hypercoaster that races. That is, I mean, it's taken over the skyline. It is the most prominent roller coaster Orlando has ever seen. It is invisible from all over the place, man. Like you know, no other roller coaster in Orlando is that visible, and it's a baller dueling hypercoaster from Mac. I mean, it's cool stuff. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, even though it's not 2024, I mean, it just showcasing Mac's presence here. Also on our list is for both of us is Mahuka, if I'm pronouncing that right, which is the single rail coaster going to Valley-Biron-Alpes. Again, we talked about it in detail in our previous episodes. So I think we can probably skip any details of that. But it's also an Intamin single rod coaster, second one, hot rod. And then on my list, I added the Flash Vertical Velocity, which is going to be the Super Boomerang from Vekoma, coming to Six Flags Great Adventure. So it's uses LSM launches, some cool modern elements to it, and I think what I appreciate about it the most is it has even though it's a model, it has an upward zero G roll kind of twist that it looks a lot like the upward zero G roll twist on the Batman the Chiller rides, which were right in the same part of the park. So in a way, it's kind of like a funny nerd moment for something I wish I had written and never got to.
Yeah, and also from Vekoma is next year in Emerald Park in Ireland, the new SLC, the second one of its kind, and then the Boomerang coaster. So, but it's a nice plus for that park. So it's good to see that coming. I was wondering is Asia getting like a major roller coaster for 24 that we missed out on? Because we have our episodes on America and on Europe. But
so I think Alex and I went through the entire list, and we concluded like there really is not enough noteworthy stuff that is going to guarantee open in 2024 in Asia for us to do a whole episode on it. Parks we're going to ride stuff. There isn't really anything because we'll talk a little bit about our future plans in a minute, but I don't really think there's anything too noteworthy that is going to be on this list. No.
Yeah, I think for Asia, all eyes are now on a bit more further in the future on the Six Flags Park coming in Saudi Arabia with Falcon's Flight.
Or for me especially, Iron Rattler, Man Coaster, whatever they call it, the dive or the tilt coaster from Vekoma with the double zero G-roll elements. That looks pretty sick. Too bad
I see there is a GCI coaster opening though in Fantasy Valley called the Anger of the Yeti.
Okay, cute name. We love it.
Yeah, it's doesn't seem too high and too long, but
you know what? This one was overdue because Fantasy Valley, which also, if I'm not mistaken, has a wing coaster, a blue one that looks a little bit like a larger, blown-up version of Wild Eagle.
The Da Vinci ride. Yeah,
that goes through like the canopy and the entrance of the park. They were supposed to open with that, and it's actually, I believe, a clone of Evil Knievel, whatever it's called now, in American Thunder. It's called Six Flags St. Louis. It's a clone of that, so it's not very large, but it's gonna be cool. It's lengthy, yeah. I kind of forgot it hadn't opened yet. Yeah, that was due to open with the park like 2 years ago. But yeah, not a whole lot in Asia. That is open next year, I don't think. And then let's talk about next year. Let's talk about our trips.
Yes.
My times of year are not necessarily set in stone for all of them yet. So we can just kind of go back and forth, or I can go first, you can go first. What do you think is best, Sven?
No, I have a bit of the same thing. Like for 2024, I'm not entirely sure what is on the schedule. I know what I'd like to do, but one thing is fixed, and that's beginning of January we're going to Disneyland Paris. And I'm excited to see the Pixar Together show because I've heard good things about that.
I'm excited about that too. Yeah.
And also, it's the final day of the Christmas season, so it will be nice to wrap up everything Christmas with that. So it's good. Will be good to to be back since Walt Disney World, and see how my feelings are about Disneyland Paris after that. So that's the only one that's for definitely sure for me already. What about you?
I finally got my vacation times figured out from work, which last year I didn't get any, which is also why my travels were particularly limited. But next year we're looking at quite some big trips. I think the biggest one will probably be our Japan, Beijing, Shanghai trip. We're overdue for some more China, which we frequently visited, and for like 2 years we went there a lot. Anyway, we're looking at just revisiting a lot of the Universal and Disney parks around the world, or visiting for the first time. And for this particular trip, it's going to be Tokyo Disney Resort. We're thinking of doing the fall so that we know for sure that Fantasy Springs is already open. Yeah. And of course, Universal Studios Japan, at that point, Donkey Kong should be well up and running. Even though we're getting it here, it'd be cool to go there too.
Fantasy Springs is probably also one of those things in Asia for 24 that will grab all the attention.
Oh, for
that
sure.
That area just looks so crazy. I mean,
yeah, it expands Tokyo Disney Sea by 50%. Like it's making the park so much larger. It's crazy to conceptualize because the park, the way it's laid out, it's really clever. It feels large, but it's kind of compact, kind of a la Phantasialand. But it's really going to become a lot larger now, and it'll be nice for the traffic flow of that park to have this land, and of course for the additions.
We also do Universal because there we also have a coaster. We have the Donkey Kong.
Right, yeah, like I just mentioned, we're planning on doing Donkey Kong too. Okay. But my thing is, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know how many days I want to spend at USJ. We had a really good trip there 3-4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago at this point. And if Donkey Kong is like a crazy, because you know how they get in Japan, especially at Universal Studios Japan, like timed entry this, timed entry that. If it's like super complicated, I'm going to be like, well, literally next year we're going to have it. You know, like less than a year later, we'll have it here in Orlando. Yeah. But I can see Alex be like, no, we have to ride Donkey Kong. So worst case, you spend all day trying to get on Donkey Kong. We'll see. We're also going to add Mitsui Greenland to that because we haven't been there before. Okay. And then Shima Spain Village last time we were there was a big hurricane that blew through, typhoon, different spin direction. And we got stuck in a hotel, so we weren't able to go to Shima Spain Village, which is home to the Pyrenees, the big B&M invert. And then Rizutsu Resort has a couple cool rides, including the only Ultra Twister that has a dive loop in it instead of doing the turnaround table.
Okay.
And then we want to hop over to Beijing for a couple days and do Happy Valley.
Because why not? Why not?
We're only like 2.5-3 hours away from Beijing. So we'll just hop over and do Happy Valley and Universal Beijing Resort, which of course the main reason is Jurassic World Dark Ride. But also next year our goal is to visit all Universal parks and all Disney parks same year, which in 2018 we did all Disney parks in like 9 months, and then next year our goal is to just do all Disney, all Universal parks. And so this is one of those trips where that will be included. And then with a little luck, we can hop down to Shanghai on this trip as well. If not, we'll make it a separate trip. But just to go in for Disney and leave again. The nice thing about China is, if anyone listening, they have reinstated their tourist visas that are 5 or 6 days. So you don't need to go to the embassy to get a visa. If you have confirmed air tickets in and out of the country, you can, upon arrival, get like a temporary visitor visa that allows you to visit attractions within the city or within like the province or two, depending on where you're going, without needing to apply for a visa via the consulate, which makes a big difference. So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be doing short hops in and out of China, I think, next year. Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of China, we're also planning on going to Hong Kong and Singapore next year on a combined trip, because they're a little bit closer to each other than Beijing and Shanghai are to Singapore. So those are easier to combine. And also, of course, for the express purpose of Universal Studios Singapore, for me particularly, Battlestar Galactica, which has been on my list for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
We'll see if it lives up to the hype. But, anyway, we're excited for that. And then we need to revisit Hong Kong Disneyland at Ocean Park. Of course, we have Frozen to go ride, even though I don't know if I care that much. I think I'm more excited for Oaken Sliding Sleds. even though it's also practically just a kiddie coaster.
I was about to say, don't get your hopes too high up, because what I've heard is that it poses the question: can a coaster be too much themed? And that's
I know what is just theming only and no coaster. I will say though, Hong Kong Disneyland is the park I've spent the least time in the entire Disney collection. Mostly because it's so quiet, you can do everything back to back to back, and you don't need as much time there as you do in other parks. But I'm most excited to go back and rewrite everything. I've been to the other parks more than I've been to Hong Kong, so it'll be fun. And we got some family there that we want to see, so that's a trip. And then I'm just going to keep on rambling here, Sven.
Because...
I guess that maybe 2024 will be my year. We also have a Europe trip planned. Energylandia and Legendia. Haven't been there yet. I'm still missing Park Plein, so I want to go there to ride Dynamite and El Toro. And then, of course, Europa Park for Voltron and Phantasialand for Phantasialand. And then we'll see. We'll probably add some other parks to that trip. Walibi Ronalp was actually on the list too. I don't know where I'm going to fit it in, how I'm going to fit it in. At some point, we will also get to that park. Maybe fly to somewhere closer to the Mediterranean and make our way up from the south instead of going down from Paris. We'll see. To change things up. We'll be at Disneyland Paris a couple times. After the Olympics, we'll get a new pass. Efteling, we'll probably spend half my summer there. And then other than that, maybe some other parks that are, near layovers. Maybe in Asia, maybe in Europe.
I wouldn't be surprised about you guys. But yeah, sorry. I think that's the thing for Paris this year is 24 will host the Olympics. So
yeah, staying far away for a couple months.
Well, Paris itself will be very busy. Although that quite of the things are spread. Because, like, here we have Lille that's very close by, and we're going to see the basketball there, I think.
Oh, cool,
so
okay.
They do spread things a little bit around, but most of it will, of course, be Paris. So keep that in mind if you plan to visit Disneyland Paris, for sure.
Yeah, I would definitely avoid Olympic times. Just for crowd reasons in general, like in the area.
Yeah, I think for me... one of the trips that I think will more or less happen is a combination of going back to Le Pal and visiting Walibi Ronalp, because they're not super close to each other, but they're compared to other parks there. You can kind of consider them in the same area. So I'd like to combine those two. Europa Park is definitely a go. For the Voltron coaster. And then we're planning to do a little trip to Denmark by car from Belgium.
Oh, fun. Oh, nice.
So that means that we go through Germany. So potential parks there are Hansa Park, Heide Park, and maybe Serengeti Park, as we talked about in previous episodes for the...
That's a suspended flying flippy coaster, yeah.
Yes, the Gozimba. If I remember correctly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, in Denmark itself, we'll definitely do Copenhagen. So Tivoli Gardens and Bakken are on the list there. And then for the other parks, it will depend a bit on our route. But yeah, I mean, Djurs Summerland and Farup Summerland, I'd hit that park every year, those parks every year if I could, because they're really good. And Legoland, mostly for Sander. But I mean, I've done 2 Legoland so far, and that was definitely my favorite, because you feel like the Billund is
like the OG, right? Yeah.
yeah, and it has its unique rides compared to the other ones. So and yeah, who knows? Maybe I'll end up in Ireland for Emerald Park. Norway is also on my list for Tusenfryd, because I haven't done the Gerstlauer inverted coaster that opened there this year. So
I heard good things about it. Really good things about it, yeah.
So that's also one that... And I've never been to Norway, because that's also a country in itself that I'd like to visit. And then finally, Efteling for the...
You better go to Efteling next year.
And Bellabad, of course. I didn't put it on our show notes, but I think that's also one of the parks that I'm looking most forward to in Belgium, with that enormous water ride coming. So
oh, true. I may have to come and visit you for that. Yeah. Yeah, I'll
when
probably
you still
will.
have time with everything else.
I probably will be there for work. I'll just do it during work layover. Yeah, maybe.
But the thing is, so my list is a lot more modest than you guys's. But
well, we have some catching up to do, Sven. We didn't spend a whole month in Florida. I mean, actually, we did because we live here, but I mean, for vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have the Asian parks on our list, but I mean, we just had Florida, so it might be just for next year or the year after. But I mean, Denmark, it will be fun. It's love that country, good vibes there. So and then I'll see, because work takes me places, and sometimes
true.
It's a bit everywhere. So who knows if I'm back in Orlando for the IAPA.
That'd be fun. That'd be cute. I would love to see it there.
But yeah, I think there's potential for some unexpected visits in Europe, America, or other places. So we'll see. And
with that, we are rounding up yet another hour and a half episode of Coastal Kings Radio.
Yeah. Even with the two of us.
But this was a fun episode, Sven. I love doing it. It was so fun. We will see, or hope everyone tunes in 2024. We want to thank everyone for a really great 2023. We've had a great Coastal Kings season so far, and we look forward to bringing even more next year. I think this year, especially for myself, I must say, was really a transitional year between starting a new career, finding a life balance, living in like several places. It's been a lot, but I'm looking forward to a little more stability, perhaps consistency with travel, all that kind of good stuff in 2024. And we hope to have all of you along for the ride. Make sure to follow us on the social media. Check out thecoastalkings.com at your leisure. And we'll catch you guys in 2024.
Yeah, we wish you all the best. Good health. Lots of roller coasters. Lots of dark rides.
All the G-forces.
And yeah, have an amazing celebration of the passing to the new year.
And we will see you there. Bye.
Bye.